How to stop overthinking once and for all. Do you notice that your thoughts are running amok in your head all day, every day? Do you notice that your thinking mind is dominating your life and you feel like you have no power over this, no control? It can feel very unsettling and frustrating when you finally start to notice how many thoughts you're thinking that are just totally useless and don't serve you at all. Now, the thinking mind is an extremely powerful tool, which I'll talk more about, but for many of us, it ends up becoming more of a liability. Because if you're thinking all kinds of random thoughts throughout the day, what that means is you're being pulled in all sorts of energetic and emotional directions. There's not a lot of centeredness or stability, continuity in who you are and what you're aspiring to in your life. So gaining mastery over your thinking mind is just an essential skill to develop in this life if you want to have more happiness and success. Now, I assure you there is a way to do this, but first we have to identify the root problem. We've been taught from a very young age that heavily identifying with a thinking mind is the basis of who we are. It's what gets us through life. It enables us to not only survive, but to succeed in life. Now, the thinking mind is an extremely powerful tool, but the problem is that most of us use it as a liability. It's working against us. Why is this happening? Well, the main issue is that we are unconscious of most of our thoughts. Most adults, I would say all adults, think about 60 to 70,000 thoughts every single day. And we're only consciously aware of a very small percentage of those thoughts. That is the primary problem. So if you're going to stop overthinking, this is entirely an issue of how much awareness you have over the thinking process. So the number one solution is to spend 10 minutes every day, preferably first thing in the morning, in silence, closing your eyes, breathing deeply, and just watching your thoughts. You're not going to try to stop your thoughts. You're not going to try to slow your mind down. You're simply going to observe your thoughts. Now, what this assumes is that there is a separation between the thoughts and you, that there's some sort of space between what is being thought about and you as the thinker of the thought. And this becomes very interesting. And, of course, this is what meditation and mindfulness practice is all about. It's creating that distance, that space between your core identity and your thoughts and feelings. So simply observing thought without being the thought in and of itself starts to slow down the chaos and the crazy momentum of your thinking mind. It starts to naturally breathe some space and some relaxation into your thoughts. So even doing that simple technique for 10 minutes a day can change your life. Now, here is what you want to do if you want to dramatically accelerate this process. You want to make your life a fun game where you bring as much consciousness to your thinking mind as you possibly can throughout the day, all day, every day. So when you're brushing your teeth, when you're waiting in line at the grocery store, when you're in a meeting at work, when you're talking to your kids, whatever it is, just all these normal, mundane, elements of daily life, that you are highly aware of what you're thinking about. So you're no longer allowing yourself to lapse into unconsciousness and your thoughts are just running amok, just randomly in your head. What you'll start to notice is the more you do this, your life starts to naturally shift in a variety of ways because your thoughts are very powerful. And whatever you're thinking about over the course of time forms neural patterns and it forms emotional states of being that determine your identity, who you believe you are. So when you start bringing consciousness to your thoughts, you start to realize you have an enormous power to start thinking thoughts that you actually want to think. So instead of just allowing this default mode unconsciously to dominate your life, you start choosing what you want to think about. And I assure you, this is a skill that you can develop with practice. At first, it may feel overwhelming or a little bit daunting because remember, let's say you're 50 years old, this pattern has likely been going on for 40 years or longer, where you've just been unconsciously thinking and your mind's been pulling you in all kinds of different directions. So it takes time, it takes a little bit of patience and practice to master your thinking mind, but it is highly possible. So it really comes down to how much do you want to do that? How much is that a priority to you in your daily life? This becomes a much bigger priority when you start to realize the direct connection between your thinking mind and the world that is showing up outside of you. Because over time, like I said, your thoughts start to form neural connections and different beliefs and ideologies that give you a state of being that determine the life that you're living. So developing consciousness around your thoughts is one of the most powerful things that you can do to start to create the life that you really want. And starting to think thoughts that feel aligned, that feel empowering, that feel reflective of the person that you really want to be. And you start using your imagination in this way to see yourself as already being the person that you feel like you came here to be. What attributes or qualities do you want to start anchoring into your being more? And you start thinking thoughts that reflect those qualities. I am already successful. I am happy. I am aligned. I feel very clear in who I am. I am purposeful. I excel in this or that, right? Like we start to think thoughts that feel good, that feel vibrationally like they match up with our higher being, our spirit, instead of all of these unconscious thoughts that reflect our past, that reflect our old identity, this habitual mode of who we think we've become. Now, human beings have an incredible power to do exactly this. It's really what distinguishes us from other forms of life. We have this choosing faculty in us, this spiritual will, that is actually stronger than our habitual programming. So I encourage you to start with this 10 minutes in the morning of practicing this, just mindfulness, separating yourself, your core identity from your thoughts, and then starting to accelerate this by making your life a fun game of all day, every day, driving in your car. Stop. Are you aware right now? Bring consciousness to this very moment. Breathe. What am I thinking about? Is that a thought I really want to be thinking? What would I like to be thinking about? And you start thinking those thoughts because you have the power to do that, okay? This is going to take a little bit of time, but I assure you it's a very powerful practice. It can be very enjoyable. And sometimes your mind will give you some kickback. If you notice your mind is spewing out judgmental or cynical thoughts about this, remember, that's just more of the same old programming. That's more of the same energy that creates chaos in your mind. So you have to be aware of the kind of self-sabotage tendencies that the mind is going to produce to make sure you don't change, to make sure you stay locked in old patterns, okay? So this is how you stop overthinking. It's a very, very powerful technique, and it's really just a way of life. Leave me a comment below if you've gotten some insight from this video, if you felt something shift inside of you, if you feel more inspired. I'd love to hear from you. And also be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'll be sharing a lot more content like this. And my goal is to really help you on a much deeper level than so much of the self-help personal development stuff out there. So I hope this resonates with you. It changes your life. Let me know, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Thanks.